कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna devotees, welcome all of you for the today's morning program, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. And today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Gaurachandra Gopinath Prabhu for continuing the next chapter, chapter 54 from Srila Prabhupada lilamritha. And the title of the chapter is At Home in Vṛndāvana. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. It's always privilege to remember about Srila Prabhupada. Please pray for me so that I can speak something today on Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamagyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandegam Sri Guru Shri Yuda Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadodam Parijana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Cha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimade Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshadarine Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratishe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vṛndāvaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpataru Bhesha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vāshadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate grim Yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Guru Dīnadarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Hare Krishna. Very much once again. Today we are going to see chapter 54 at home in Vṛndāvana. To give a summary of previous chapter 53, those who are not present. So chapter 53, Prabhupada has just come from UK and he was staying in Mumbai because he was restless in manner as well as in UK because he loved the devotees. Just to encourage the devotees, he had gone. He was staying in manner, but he told that he wants to go to Bombay because he wants to see this project being completed. And Prabhupada comes to Bombay. He stays there for some time, but the temple was like planned for opening of a temple was planned after 5 weeks. So Prabhupada's health was deteriorating, and he was very much while going UK also he was not fit. But somehow Prabhupada wants to go, and he has come back from Mumbai, but still health was not good, and the devotees were discussing whether to take him to Vṛndāvana or Prabhupada should stay here and open the temple. Then finally they all decided that Prabhupada finally decided that he would come back to Vṛndāvan. And today we will be seeing how Prabhupada is traveling from Mumbai to Vṛndāvan, and this chapter and next chapter episode, all Prabhupada final days of how Prabhupada prepared his consciousness, what are the list of things he did, how a perfect Vaishnava Acharya has left this world. So I'm not going to skip any lines, especially this chapter. And I don't know how much I will be able to cover. Maybe I'll be able to cover 60% of the chapter. Remaining we can see later. The reason because these are very crucial and very important chapters where we can observe ourselves the mood of the Acharya. So I will go a little slow today. This is between October 2nd and 31st, 1977. The entire chapter episode is in the October month. The next chapter will be November, where Prabhupada passing away from this material world. So the theme is that Prabhupada is decided to live. He is fasting. He doesn't want to take any water, liquids. Of course, there's no solid. Forget about the solid. Even liquids he stopped taking. And as Prabhupada disciples are getting anxious, they're requesting Prabhupada to stay. But Prabhupada was preparing. He said he wants to go. And they don't know, they can't go against Vaishnava Acharya's, his guru's desire. At the same time, it is causing a lot of pain and agony and a lot of anxiety to his devotees. So this episode deals with those kind of emotions which we would see. So let us see some of them. Very wonderful dealings of Srila Prabhupada. So this entire chapter, I said, overview of events is staying in Vṛndāvana, entire October month. So we will see the events happening in the Krishna Balram Mandir. So it's Prabhupada traveled by train from Bombay to Vṛndāvana, and from railway station to the Krishna Balram Mandir, he was traveled by car. So from the station, Brahmananda Prabhu carried him in his hand to the car, and 15-20 minutes Prabhupada was comfortably reaching to the temple. And as soon as the devotees saw Prabhupada in Krishna Balram Mandir, they were all they were very shocked because Prabhupada health was completely deteriorated. And end of the session today also I will show you a small video clip, exactly October 2nd, how Prabhupada was living in Vṛndāvana. There is a video available so that some of you can realize how Prabhupada was not well. So his condition was deteriorated, and his room was kept as it is. So Prabhupada was back to his quarters, and they just lay him down on the bed. They reduced the light, dim light, and Prabhupada was staying still, lying down. And His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, Prabhupada, you are at home now. And Srila Prabhupada not moving. And he said, thank you so much. He seems to be relieved. He's very comfortable. He knew that he wanted to leave this material world. He was preparing, so he wanted to be in Vṛndāvana. Prabhupada was very particular and he wanted to come. He came here. So he was very much relieved and he was looking forward for his leaving this world. Then His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, Prabhupada, you are under the care of Krishna Balram now. And Srila Prabhupada looked at his consciousness. He was quoting from Mukundamala Sostra, this wonderful Krishna Tudiya Pada Pankaja Pancharatram. This is a wonderful sloka where Kulashekara Alvar speaks how like a swan, I want to just entangle in the stem of the lotus feet, thinking Krishna's lotus feet. But at the time of death, Kapha, Pitta, they'll all choke. How do I able to remember? Let me remember now. And the Sri Vaishnava Acharya also, they say, Apodeke, Ipodeke Sullivait. And they say, at the time of death, I won't be able to remember you, my Lord, but I will tell you now. I will chant the holy name. I'll promise I'll chant my now. But it is your duty to take care of at the time of death. So same this Vaishnava Acharyas and other Acharyas thinking about it, and Srila Prabhupada exactly remembering. And this is a wonderful verse. Everyone should remember, especially at the time of death, because this sloka has such a wonderful meaning and very impact. And so Srila Prabhupada remembered exactly this Krishna Todiya Pada Pankaja Pancharatram. At the time of death, I will not be able to remember. Let me do kirtan, let me hear, see the anxiety of Srila Prabhupada. And Acharya is always thinking about Krishna, pure devotee, eternal servant. But he's showing everyone else what kind of a mood one should prepare. And he said, when there's something, we know that we are not well or something, critical, then we should always remember this shloka and start chanting. So then he said, my dear Krishna, please help me immediately so that the swan of my mind may be encircled by the stem of your lotus feet. Otherwise, at the time of final breath, how it will be possible for me to think of you? Although Prabhupada was such a precocious state, he remained completely fixed in Krishna consciousness, either reciting Krishna's name, remembering Krishna's pastime, or his devotion service. Prabhupada was completely fixed on his devotion service. Then Prabhupada said regularly when the schedule was in Vṛndāvana, he would 9:30 he would go and visit the deities, greet the deities, come back, and Prabhupada said, "Let us do that." And His Holiness, my other devotees and disciples, they all said, "Prabhupada, it is you are already very weak. We can do that tomorrow. Today we would like to take rest today." And Prabhupada said, "Whatever you desire." So Prabhupada was not even worried about, like, he just proposed that he won't have a darshan of the deities, but the devotee said, "You can do it tomorrow." Prabhupada said, did not object, and he just want to focus on the time of thinking about Krishna. Then the Kamal Krishna Maharaj was worried about his health. They trying to push a doctor, and Prabhupada always says, "No, don't pray for me to live. I want to die." That was the mood. Prabhupada was determined that I want to leave this doctor world. But the devotees from here, they'll try to ask Prabhupada, "Should I get this doctor or should I get this help? Please try to drink." Prabhupada was completely denying all those things. So, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked, "Should I bring this Kaviraj?" Kaviraj is one of the Ayurvedic doctor who've been consulting Prabhupada for some time. And he told when he was in, I think Bombay or UK, I think in Bombay. So it's good or bad, but some husband must be there. Means some doctor, he's a good or bad, some doctor should treat. That's what he told that time. Prabhupada is reminding, Prabhupada, as you said good or bad, some doctor required. Should I get you this Kaviraj doctor? Prabhupada said, you manage everything. I don't want to get involved. Let me think of Krishna Balram. I have nothing to do with this body or the treatment what you're giving. You decide. You are the GBC. You decide, and I'm not going to bother. I'm preparing my consciousness. This was the feedback. This was the response from Prabhupada. So again, a little before in the afternoon, the devotees, there was continuously Kirtan or either reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. They taken a rotation, and that's how the devotees were doing it. And the devotees were reading that point in time Srimad Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada is another quality of management. We have seen in the previous episode as well. I think it is 48, chapter 48. The bell, how the temple in Vṛndāvana, there is a temple is there. How this should be on punctual time. It should be like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, the bell should ring. And every half an hour, there is one single bell should ring. Prabhupada was somehow other particular about it. If you remember in the previous chapter 48, and Prabhupada insisted this bells to be installed, and they've installed. But it was a huge struggle to make it work. And now also it was not working. So Prabhupada was, whenever he's Vṛndāvana, he's particular about it, very specific about this, the bell ringing on time. So when they installed this bell, if you recollect, they could not able to put the rope. They put the rope, but it was like, it is against the wall. It was touching, so it used to cut very often. Then they tried with the thick rope, but it is spoiled the sound of the bell. It is not clearly coming out. Then they thought, okay, let us do with the metal chain. They tried to put metal chain and tried to ring the bell. It was too heavy to manage. Somebody tried a nylon rope. It got also cut. They don't know. And Prabhupada would, midnight, he would get up at 2 o'clock. He'll call his secretary. They said, "Did you hear the bell?" They'll say, "No, Prabhupada, we could not able to hear." "Can you please hear again?" They say, "Yes, Prabhupada, we could not able to hear." "That's what I'm saying. The bell is not ringing. Go make and wake up this chokidar." Chokidar means the security guard. Ask him to ring the bell. And the secretaries would go ask wake up the chokidar, and he also would ring the bell, and they'll go to sleep again. And Prabhupada will be translating again. He would get up at 3 o'clock. He'll call again. Say, "Did you hear the bell?" 3 o'clock he would say. And the devotee say, "No, Prabhupada, please go and wake them up." Then Prabhupada said, if you're not even able to manage a simple ringing of a bell, what kind of temple management you do? Because the entire, sample of managing this simple thing of bell means that you would manage the entire building properly. So that's what Prabhupada's all behind it. So now also Prabhupada just, he was hearing at 4 o'clock. Then what happened is last time also they then tried that it is not working. The ropes are cutting. Then they thought Prabhupada suggested buy a pulley and wheel pulley. Then you put the rope and do something like that. And somehow there is a devotee who rejected it, is sent that off. And Prabhupada asked what happened. He said, no, Prabhupada, some devotees bought pulley, but I have rejected it. And Prabhupada was so annoyed and he said, get that pulley. The pulley also did not work. And sometime they made a wooden bracket, they made a hole, and they're trying to work it out. Still that did not work. So it was a great struggle for devotees. Then finally somehow they fixed it. So now it is working, but it is that every time, the chokidar may not be sleeping or maybe inattentive, and Prabhupada would ensure that they ring the bell. So Prabhupada then what is happening? Prabhupada asked at 4 when the devotees are reading, did the bell ring? But it was ringing a different bell at wrong time. Then Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, no, Prabhupada, it is some other temple, it is ringing, not our temple. Then I again asked Harisori Prabhu, is it ringing? It is already 4, why it is not ringing? Harisori Prabhu was about to get out, then the bell started ringing loudly, 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Then Prabhupada was happy. So and Prabhupada made very practical statement. This is my concern, said Prabhupada, that such a huge establishment is properly managed. If not properly managed, then everything will be finished. I don't think that is going to happen, said Tamal Krishna. We are too much indebted to you, Prabhupada, to allow that you have established to become spoiled. So Prabhupada said, please see to that whatever established is maintained. Then again, Srila Prabhupada still not convinced, and he asked Akshayananda Swami, go and check, come into his room and inquired about the bell. Is that bell is ringing or not? Then Akshayananda Swami Maharaj promised to check this instruction instruction very seriously, and he was checking regularly. Then the Pujari came, Krishna Balram Garland. Prabhupada accepted it, and he started listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. So the Acharya mood was that either there will be soft kirtan or Srimad Bhagavatam. Anything related to his body, anything related to his treatment, anything related to his management, anything related to decision of whether going to Vṛndāvana or staying in Bombay, everything he left it to his disciple. He was just focused last 2 months clearly on Krishna. There's nothing else coming into mind. Even though devotees tried to ask him something, Prabhupada was avoiding, and he was trying to focus on hearing Srimad Bhagavatam as well as chanting. Then later in Prabhupada sees how Prabhupada was thanking Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. He said, I must thank you because I was not well. I'm just a bone and a bundle of bones. You still made me to comfortably take it to the UK. Then he brought me back to Bombay. Now you're back to Vṛndāvana. Thank you so much. I'm grateful. Credit to you, and Krishna will bless you. Like that, Prabhupada thanked His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And now the devotees were anxious. So Harisori Prabhu, what he did is he consulted an astrological person, a horoscope, Jyotisha person in Delhi. And he looked at Prabhupada the chart, and he told Prabhupada needs to survive. Then there's Lord Shiva mantra to be chanted by the Brahmanas for 11 days. That was the suggestion came from. And they were discussing with Prabhupada. Prabhupada said immediately, we have Hare Krishna mantra. There is no need of others. He did not approve chanting of Shiva mantra for the 11 days by the Brahmanas. And then devotees were asking Harisori Prabhu, Prabhupada, this astrological chart very much important. Is it applicable for devotees? Please listen carefully what's Prabhupada answer. Because most of the time we also practical, a lot of time we also go to astrologers. We try to ask few things. And this is the question. Are this astrological chart very much applicable for devotees, Srila Prabhupada? This was question raised by Harisori Prabhu. And Prabhupada said, no, said Srila Prabhupada, don't waste money for this astrology. So we need to be also practical here. When Acharya says we need to understand time, place, circumstances. Sometimes His Holiness Jayapatka Maharaj, we would ask, what about this astrological chart? Of course, this is not applicable to the devotees because Krishna takes care of the karma in his hand. He may generally not interfere, but he will try to test using that karma, whatever we are supposed to suffer, whether we are passing the test or not. But at the same time, this Krishna can change it, whatever he wants. He can reduce the karma, whatever it is. That's why Prabhupada said it's not applicable to devotees. But however, these are two things I've heard from His Holiness Jayapatka Maharaj as well as His Holiness Bhanu Maharaj in one of the interview. At least when we want to get married, we are doing Vivaha Mitra, some devotees are doing that service. At least the boy and girl horoscope can be matched. There is nothing wrong in matching the horoscope. It's not complete no to the astrology, but at least matching the horoscope to see that guna is matching, that is allowed. Second thing is that, let's say if you are going through bad period, 7.5 years, they say, Shani or something like that. At least knowing that this period to this period, I have a bad period. You don't need to do anything on prayashchitta or something, but at least go and surrender to Krishna, mentally prepared that I know that I am going to face a rough period, but I need to focus more on chanting depending on Krishna. If that is done, that is okay. So these are the two from my experience or hearing from acharyas, these two things you can do. But in general, horoscope will not work for the devotees, because as soon as we become devotee, Krishna takes in charge of all your karmas. But he will test you based on the result, whether we are passing the test or not, but it is up to Krishna. So that's understanding of this astrology part. So moving on to the Prabhupada said, what is this astrology and all? They are karmis. The people who are seeing horoscope, they are all astrologers or karmis. They are nothing to do with the karmis. My medicine is only mantra. I want is Krishna mantra, and let us start chanting. And there was continuous chanting of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Prabhupada was listening constantly Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So, and Prabhupada actually called these 23 GBC members in Vṛndāvana just to give a final instruction when he was passing away. So all the GBC members from everywhere, they were almost there present in Vṛndāvana, and they started reporting, their preaching reporting to Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada started hearing one by one their preaching leaders. And the first one came forward was Amsaduda Swami. He was preaching in Sri Lanka. So then Prabhupada said, in Sri Lanka, you should have develop a farm community, something like that, of the new Vṛndāvana. There is a farm community. And so then that was the instruction to Amsaduda Swami in Sri Lanka. Then Amsaduda Swami was started telling his experience in preaching. And he said, what kind of country is this? Sri Lanka is, we know that Ramayana is associated with the history. It is land of Raja Rishis. There are a lot of rishis were there. But there are some lady was running this government. And Prabhupada corrected immediately, saying that, do not touch politics. Prabhupada, preaching, if you want to touch, you have to touch only two things. This is a very important instruction for all the preachers. We never touch anything on the politics or the politicians. We have nothing to do with that. He said, we can talk about the culture, and we can talk about the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, how the Vedic culture, how one should follow the Vedic Varnashrama system, Vedic culture. These are the topics we should be preaching, not on the politics. Don't criticize any politics. Then Prabhupada corrected him. Then the next Giriraj Maharaj came, and he was also dealing with some of the bank matters. So the local bank was stopped dispersing monies, withdrawal of the funds from ISKCON account for various reasons. So Prabhupada was consulted, and Prabhupada gave a very practical advice. And Prabhupada said, please stop engaging me this kind of activities in the future. I don't want to get involved. I want to peacefully think about Lord Krishna and chant. I don't want to manage anything on the management affairs. And His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj apologized and said, we will take care of it in the future. And Prabhupada said, do the needful. I don't want to get involved henceforth on any activity management of temple management. So Prabhupada calling for the GPC is one, encouraging them to preach, understand the preaching report. Second thing is that they want to be with them, and he wants to ask them to chant. So he can do more bhajan along with those devotees. And he said he wanted the medicine of the holy name, not the doctors. Prabhupada never wanted any doctors. He's been rejecting so many doctors. And there was a discussion. There was Dr. Ghosh, who is Prabhupada's friend, who is coming to establish hospital in Vṛndāvana. So His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, why don't we get Dr. Ghosh? Any of his friend, he's coming here to establish his hospital. He might treat you, give a prescription as well. But Prabhupada outright rejected, saying that he might come for to open the clinic in develop in Vṛndāvana, but not for my treatment. So he said, Prabhupada said, let us take your advice of Kirtana only. He's telling to Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And they agreed that there's no more doctor. They will not invite any doctor. They just depend on holy name and nothing else. Because this will gives that way, one way we are pleading to Krishna to say protect Srila Prabhupada or whatever Krishna wants to do. So they said completely dependence on Krishna. So this is one of the qualities of when we see nectar of devotion, complete dependence on Krishna. Right? Srila Prabhupada, like, we said, I'm not this body. What are you talking? I'm not this body. I have nothing to do with, I don't want any doctors, but I just want to peacefully pass away and I just want to remember the holy name of the Lord. That's a medicine. Then Prabhupada made an important statement. It's amazing. Better you don't pray to Krishna to save me, said Srila Prabhupada. Let me die now. Prabhupada then asked to sit up, and then the one by one GBC members were singing or reporting. Then Amsatuda was requested to sing for Srila Prabhupada. And there is another important preacher, Rishikesh Maharaj. He was in he was in US. Sorry, I think he was preaching in Europe, and he has been told that Prabhupada is in Vṛndāvana. You expect the worst because Prabhupada health is deteriorating. He might pass away anytime. Please come and visit him. So Rishikesh Maharaj immediately he picked up a couple of books he was printing in Germany, Srimad Bhagavatam Second Canto in Germany, Krishna book in German, and in Czechoslovakia he printed Sri Upanishad. He brought immediately one copies of that, and next day he flew to Vṛndāvana, and he came to Vṛndāvana and he met Prabhupada. And some devotees were telling, we should not disturb Prabhupada, now his health is bad. Then Maharaj said, what are you crazy? Prabhupada's heart and soul is the books. We should definitely talk to him, the new releases of the books. And Prabhupada, he saw, and he was really happy. And he showed Prabhupada the German version of the Srimad Bhagavatam Second Canto, the Krishna book, as well as the Ishopanishad books. Prabhupada was really happy and he was trying to stroke his head, and Prabhupada was crying in tears seeing the books. And Prabhupada was recollected some time back. Actually, this is a wonderful exchange between his disciples and Prabhupada mode. So I will read as it is, it's wonderful. He was rotting here, typewriting, said Srila Prabhupada. Actually, Rishikesh Maharaj previously was here, he was translating and things like that. He was a secretary just before preaching in Europe. And suddenly one day Prabhupada said, you go to Europe and preach. I have already 10 servants. So you can go and preach in Europe. Then Prabhupada said, you would have thought that I'm disregarding you by sending you away. Because generally disciples want to serve Srila Prabhupada, be with Vani Seva, then the Vani Seva. So, but the devotees feel bad, right? If there are 10 secretaries, one secretary said, you go and preach, I don't want your seva. So you would have thought like that, but you are a very intelligent boy. I know you can do much better than rotting here in typing, only just typing. Your skills are much bigger. Now you understand you could be able to establish your preaching in Europe. You printed so many volume of books. Did you understand? Prabhupada is asking now, why did I ask you to send Euro from my personal service to preaching mission? Then Maharaj was literally crying. The exchange was amazing. And, the printing Prabhupada appreciated. How many copies you printed? Prabhupada asked. He said, Maharaj said, 120,000 Krishna books, 16,000 of Srimad Bhagavatam, 10,000 Ishopanishad. And Prabhupada said, will be able to sell Ishopanishad? He said, in Yugoslavia, yes, we should be able to. Then he said, print more books. So then they continued discussing about Srila Prabhupada books distribution. Prabhupada said, again, this is my life and soul. And new books, gave ecstasy to Srila Prabhupada. And Maharaj said, now you should become better, Prabhupada, more healthy. Then Prabhupada replied, healthy? Srila Prabhupada said, I am nothing to do with this body. So Prabhupada is constantly rejecting whenever they bring a point to bring a doctor or make him to eat or make him to become healthy Vishim. Prabhupada outright rejected, saying, I have nothing to do with this body. I have nothing to do with the management. Let me peacefully go. So now what's happening is then he called during the Kirtana vigils, because constantly they'll put a chant. Half an hour, 1 hour, the devotees would chant softly in Prabhupada room, constantly going on. Night to Prabhupada, long Kirtan, he called Brahmananda Swami. Then he said, he gave some instruction about Africa preaching. So he said, putting your ears very close, because Prabhupada is speaking very feeble that time. He was just bedridden. He said, with Navayogendra and you, both of you, go to South Africa and other Africa places, please preach. Also bring Pushta Krishna. He's a very competent person. And you just do a Kirtan of Sankirtana, because these devotees consist of European body, American body, African body, and Tulasi Dasa, also very competent. So he's told 4 or 5 members who are from different parts of the country, because he want to show the world how the United Nation, how the European, Americans and the Africans come together and they're performing Kirtan. The one strategy he told Africa is that get other white bodies and Africans and try to go and do Kirtan, this United Nation simply. Then Brahmananda Maharaj remembers the same instruction when he first met Srila Prabhupada in US. Then he talked about doing Kirtan, United Nation. This is ISKCON movement is a real United Nation, performing Kirtana, satisfying Srila Mahaprabhu's mission. So he recollected that and he was quoting with Srila Prabhupada. Nodded, yes, that is the fact. Try for the protection of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and things will be successful. Others, they will simply waste of time and be disappointed and change of the body and suffer. So Prabhupada subject, but Brahmananda was satisfied his final instruction on how to preach in Africa. So this was going on. Now there is a wonderful exchange between Srila Prabhupada and another disciple. So let me spend some time here. This is a wonderful exchange. Kaladri is a devotee and is with Kirtananda Swami. And they sent a gift to Srila Prabhupada, $8,000 check and a sapphire ring, a golden medallion studded with sapphires and rubies. Prabhupada have been given a wonderful, very expensive sapphire studded, ruby studded ring made of gold. Then Prabhupada saw all this thing, then he joked, why don't you find some bride? And then everybody was laughing and Prabhupada accepted one ring in his finger. Then he said, some of this valuable jewels, somebody should take care of it. He doesn't need it. Then Kaladri, Prabhu has asked on behalf of Kirtananda Swami, Prabhupada, we have a request on behalf of Kirtananda Maharaj. He asked you to pray, because we directly pray to Krishna. We don't know Krishna. Krishna may not accept our request, may accept, may not accept. But you are a pure devotee, you know Krishna. But if you pray on behalf of us, then Krishna will listen. So these are our prayers. Please stay with us. This is what our prayers. Can you pray on behalf of us to Krishna? So basically, indirectly, they are telling Prabhupada to pray to Krishna that he want to extend it. And they also told why Prabhupada has to stay, because in New Vṛndāvana, they're constructing a beautiful temple and there is a small Prabhupada quarters, also beautiful quarters what they're building it. And they want Prabhupada to come to US and stay in the palace. Prabhupada said, I wish, but unless I become little strong, how can I do? So then they brought little bit of ice creams and sweets. Prabhupada denied taking it, but they insisted. He took one drop of ice cream piece in his tongue and he said first class. So then His Holiness Kirtananda Maharaj arrived and he was showing his project of New Vṛndāvana, and Prabhupada was asking him, how are you and things like that. And Kirtananda was explaining how this is almost complete and it has come fabulously, this project. And I have built a palace for you, your quarters. And everybody was appreciating. He was showing some places and pictures of that. And Srila Prabhupada said, it is wonderful in that quarter. He paused, reflecting, let us see which place I am going to. So Prabhupada was not telling that I will come to America, but I don't know where I will go. Then Prabhupada said, please take all the gifts, whatever you're given, that $8,000 check, sapphire ring and things like that. Use it for your project because you need your money for your project. Then Prabhupada said, then Maharaj said, Kirtananda Maharaj, Prabhupada, we want you more than all these things. Then Prabhupada said, yes, I also said, Prabhupada, if I survive, I have a strong desire to go where you live, but it will be of great pressure. Prabhupada said, I wish, but he's not willing. So Prabhupada, he has been shown the new Vṛndāvana temple projects, some of the beautiful pictures, lamps and things like that, carpets. Prabhupada liked it and he appreciated things. So the next event is that Giriraj Maharaj was like, generally comes to Prabhupada to get money for Bombay project. Most of the time he comes on business, means the management things. Now all the GBCs, they are staying in Vṛndāvana. So Maharaj thought, let me go on around the temple, visit the Goswami's temple, and in the night, Gurukula building, he was taking rest. And suddenly, mid of the night, Prabhupada, he asked somebody to get Giriraj Maharaj. And he been woken up in the mid of night, and he said, Prabhupada wants to see you. So he doesn't know why Prabhupada is calling mid of the night. Maybe it is the last instruction and something like that. He was just rushing and he's paying obeisance. He's got up very closer to Srila Prabhupada bed. Do you know what Prabhupada asked? So he's asking Giriraj Maharaj, do you think this movement can go on without me? Prabhupada asked. And Giriraj Maharaj was stunned at this Prabhupada. Why he's calling middle of the hours and he's asking, well, whether this movement will continue without me or not. What kind of question at what point of time? Giriraj Maharaj was stunned and he said, I think, Srila Prabhupada, as long as we are sincere and we are going on chanting Hare Krishna and follow principle, the movement will be successful. Srila Prabhupada was silent and he spoke. Then he said, just you're talking about organization and intelligence. Is that's all the organization require? You need to organize and a little bit of intelligence. Is that enough to sustain this great empire? And Giriraj Maharaj didn't say out, but he said, Prabhupada, please stay for some more time. But Prabhupada said, no, I don't want to stay. So then Prabhupada said, all right, you can go. Then Giriraj Maharaj offered obeisances and left outside, and he was still contemplating. Prabhupada asked this question, what is required to sustain this movement? He said, most likely, like now you are more organized. There's a proper organization and intelligence, proper management, this movement will sustain. But he thinking that it is something more required than the organization and intelligence. Of course, that is required. That is said, more love and commitment to ISKCON, that is definitely required apart from this organization to survive. So like that, he was thinking like that. So then there is another GBC some other day, next day, he comes and meets is Paramananda, temple president of Penisonavalia farm project. It's in Gita Nagari. This is a wonderful project in Gita Nagari. Prabhupada also wanted a farm project here. There is currently now a very good, wonderful farm project there in the Gita Nagari. Srila Prabhupada said, it's a simple living. Human life is meant for God realization. Try to help them. So this is a wonderful preaching Prabhupada, getting updated from them. And Paramananda Prabhu said, Prabhupada, we always feel your presence. Simply by your teaching and instruction, we are always meditating on your instruction. Prabhupada really appreciated. There is a Vapu Seva, there is a Vani Seva. So that is a real presence. Physical presence is not important. Prabhupada said, doing physical Seva is not important. But doing a Vani Seva, my instruction, going and preaching, living as per my instruction in the books, that is important. So Prabhupada again emphasized on Vani Seva. And his wife, Satyabhama, had wrote a beautiful, heart-touching letter to Prabhupada. And His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj been asked to read the letter. So I will read as it is. Then this is a wonderful thing. Then probably we will, if time permits, we will continue one more para or one more section of this section. Then we will show you a small clip of Srila Prabhupada Vṛndāvana. Then I will open up for more question and realization, reflection. So I will read this wonderful letter. Please listen carefully. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to your divine grace. This shawl is made of the wool from our own sheep. It is spun and woven here at Gita Nagari. It is the first piece we have made. While I was working on it, I would always think of you, how I was supposedly making a gift. but actually you are giving me the gift of the engagement in devotion service, Srila Prabhupada. I always pray to Lord Nrsingadeva to protect you and allow you to stay with us to finish your books. But I think today the rain falling from the sky is actually the tears of demigods, crying at the prospect of your departure. I'm also crying. Even Krishna cried at the passing of grandfather Bhishma. So I have a right to cry. I can't be so philosophical to say that you are always present in your books and teachings. Though I know these things are true, I will miss you so much, Srila Prabhupada. If you go, I beg that I may always remain your menial servant and devotee, your humble disciple Satyabhama Dasi. And such a wonderful heart and felting narration she wrote, saying that we know that you are always live in your books, but still, we are crying. The rain is coming because it's a cry of the demigods. How wonderfully she wrote. And the first shawl they made from the sheeps, they making everything on their own hand to show Prabhupada how this wonderful Varnashrama, the system is working, farm community, and they gave as a present to Srila Prabhupada. Then Prabhupada thanked her and reached her the shawl made with our wool. Prabhupada was really happy and he suggested to keep it on his feet. And this woolen shawl was saffron colored and as a gesture placed at the feet of Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was with tears, he was laying back and crying the love for the devotees, what they had. It is 7:43. So let us watch a video clip. Then probably we will see more episode if time permits. I'm resharing. I would have not shared the audio. Okay, this is in Vṛndāvana as soon as Prabhupada reached on October 2nd. How Prabhupada was weak in Vṛndāvana, how he was carried around the temple, Krishna Balram Mandir. Those things we can watch for 5 minutes, then we will see. Let me know if you are able to hear and view, Prabhu. If not, let me know. Prabhu, are you able to see Srila Prabhupada? Yeah?
We can hear.
Out of many thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection. And among many millions who have achieved perfection, one may be a devotee of Lord Krishna. Such a devotee who is fully peaceful is extremely rare.
Being situated in his original Krishna conscious position, a pure devotee does not identify with the body. Such a devotee should not be seen from a materialistic point of view. Indeed, one should overlook a devotee's having a diseased or infirm body. According to ordinary vision, such imperfections may seem prominent in the body of a pure devotee, but despite such seeming defects, the body of a pure devotee cannot be polluted. It's exactly like the waters of the Ganges, which remain pure although filled with bubbles, foam, and mud during the rainy season. Those who are advanced in spiritual understanding bathe in the Ganges without considering the condition of the water.
Since we cannot visually experience the presence of the Supersoul, out of his immense compassion, the Supersoul appears before us as a pure devotee, the spiritual master. Such a spiritual master is as worshipable as Krishna is, for in his dealings there are no activities but those of transcendental loving service to the Lord.
The verdict of all revealed scriptures is that by even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. That moment is human society's greatest treasure.
Seeing the spiritual master with devotion and reverence is the perfection of one's eyesight. Touching his lotus feet is the perfection of the sense of touch. And glorifying his qualities is the tongue's real activity.
And he says, karma hetu.
Karma hetu. If we engage in devotional service, we get a different nature. And if we engage in the business of sense gratification, the result is different.
And then that karma is tad dehopalabdhi hetu.
Yeah. And according to the association of different nature, we get a body. Karanam gunasangasya satasat janmajoni. Therefore, we should always seek good association, devotee association. Then on life will be successful.
And then last it says the gunas, satvadayo, jnana vikshepa moha hetavaha.
Jnana, if we live with good association, then we cultivate knowledge. That may.
So that was the video of Prabhupada during October exactly in Vṛndāvana, and that's how we used to spend life in Vṛndāvana. So then what is happening is I will talk about another one or two passages, then we'll open up for more questions. Still we have 5 more minutes. So Prabhupada was becoming more in favor of departing. Then so Prabhupada, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, Prabhupada, why don't you drink some water? You're not drinking much. And Prabhupada said, I don't have any inclination. And then Maharaj said, I don't know what to say, Srila Prabhupada. It is certainly bewildering for us. I only expect somehow Krishna will do something. Again, he said, should I bring the doctor? Some husband must be there for you. Somebody should treat you. He's a good or bad doctor, but I need somebody. I still believe that I need to bring the doctor. And Prabhupada said, yes, we are already taking Ayurveda doctor consulting Yogendra Ras. And Maharaj said, what if you stop that also tomorrow, you'll give it up? And what will happen to our situation? You just started now. what if you pass away tomorrow, like that? And Prabhupada said, you will become a widow. So was laughing. Actually, Krishna is the ultimate husband. So let me depend on Krishna than these doctors. So the devotees were finding it very difficult to adopt this mood of looking forward for his passing away. Like Prabhupada was looking forward and he was very eager to pass away from this world, and it is disturbing the devotees. Once during Kirtana, Upendra, a servant, asked Prabhupada, wanted something to drink, and Prabhupada refused. Some of them devotees began to cry because he is not eating, he is not drinking, he would not remain for long, right? So everybody knows that he is not taking anything. So the devotees were trying submissively resign to Srila Prabhupada will, and they accepted this direction was more and more towards leaving. They're accepting, they know this is what Prabhupada wanted it. At the same time, this is unbearable for them. They can't tolerate, knew that they can't go against Srila Prabhupada, but at the same time, they can't just go like that. So there are a lot of philosophical ideas coming, a lot of devotees sharing their exchanges. Wonderful, please listen this. Rupanuga said Prabhupada would be likened to an ambassador in a foreign country. So if you are in embassies there, if you are in a different Indian embassies in different countries, be called upon to come back to your country. So similarly, Srila ambassador of the Goloka Vṛndāvana, he just came here, this Earth-3 planet, he's an ambassador, now he has to go back. So somebody is comparing like that. And His Holiness Jai Advaita Maharaj, he says he's teaching his disciple how to die, teaching to die at the nth moment. Another devotee said that Srila Prabhupada had better friends than in spiritual world. So Prabhupada has better friends than our devotees here, so he wants to go back. Like that, various theories and people checking, emphasizing cooperating among others and how ISKCON should continue. But still, we're all depressed seeing Prabhupada determined to go. So we will see how end Prabhupada agrees to stay for some more time, but again it changes mood, and those interesting pastimes in the next week somebody can discuss about it. So I would stop here for any reflection and comments. Then rest we can see in the next week. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thanks a lot for the wonderful narrations and especially the video clip we have shown, like earlier classes also you have shown, and that is really heart touching. So from there, one is that even when Prabhupada is on that in that situation, still he was translating the work for us. That is the one. Other thing is that how the devotees lovingly exchanging with Prabhupada, and also lovingly how they were massaging the Prabhupada's head. Like it is kind of more than a father or a mother massaging the infant. So it looks like it is more love there. It's expressed the devotees, and also how devotees, especially kids, they were dancing in front of the Prabhupada in the temple when they were chanting. It was a really very good program. And MS Rani also mentioned that we are indebted to you for showing these precious videos of Prabhupada. That was pronounced.
Okay, I thought this occasion we can get into the mood, and some clips would help us to also see physically what's happening during that time. So you can able to relate. That's the reason. But it's a lot of videos available. You can listen the final instruction video. This is 30 minutes or 40 minutes video. And also next chapter is completely Prabhupada passing away. Wonderful lessons we can learn and see those, how Prabhupada is translating till end of the moment. So the next chapters will be very exciting. The half of the second chapter of this as well as next chapter, 54 and 55, there are a lot of excitement, there are a lot of lessons to be learned. So we will definitely enjoy and learn.
Devotees lines are already unmuted. Devotees can unmute and
Hare Krishna Prabhu. It was very, very nice. And it's a nice lesson for us to learn, like the instructions we get from Prabhupada. I only want to get even a fraction of consciousness by seeing. They usually say by listening to the saints, we get 1% of the devotion. Like that, by watching, you can get a fraction of it. We should be thankful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Dayamai Balde Prabhu, you want to say something? You already unmuted. Any other devotees? Any other devotees wanted to comment or? I think nobody has comments, Prabhuji, so we can
Sure,
wind up the
Prabhu.
class. Vancha kalpatarubhesha
Adhitanam bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnavanda ki Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Thank you, Prabhuji. We are very much indebted to you for wonderful narration and wonderful clips.
Thank you, Prabhu.
And thanks all the devotees for participating actively. Hare Krishna. Now ending the class.